Life is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been showing that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. We'll match you with the perfect buddy. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
We're offering you a free membership, so please sign up today. Share this with your friends and family, and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a chemo buddy for life.
We are a buddies network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are chemo buddies for life.
And if you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else, you belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
Haiti borders with the Dominican.
Her name is Serena Buffalino. They call her Mrs. B, and her class always begins with a pledge.
Something local, something global. Haiti.
They're words that carry weight here. Helping yourself means helping others, giving back, here and a world away in Haiti.
And nobody's helping them, except for people like us.
It was through her the class learned of Haiti, of the nearly 1 million orphans, many with no school, no support, no Mrs. B in their lives.
They could not wrap their head around that.
Mrs. B's students are among Toronto's most at risk. Their challenges vary from emotional and behavioral difficulties to learning disabilities. Their trauma so severe they can't function in a regular school setting, and we aren't allowed to show most of their classmates.
For most of the kids, most of society has turned them away. And in this classroom, they're accepted. They're accepted no matter what for who they are.
Take Yolanda. She came here last year so burdened and withdrawn, she would often fall silent, sometimes for days on end. It was, she says, Mrs. B's patience, her quiet encouragement, that saved her.
She actually saves people's lives from dangers.
And perhaps that's why these marginalized kids feel such a kinship with the orphans of Haiti, and why they were moved to act.
And so when Yolanda and Jackie and Patrick said, well, Miss B, we need to build them a school.
Build a school, no easy task. They started out raising money. They sold samosas, washed cars, screened movies, you name it. And in just a few months, this little class raised $20,000. So much, it's not just a one-room schoolhouse they can build, but a full 3-story school. And so Mrs. B set off on a journey she'd dreamed of, up into the dusty mountains above Port-au-Prince to a town called Canaan. It's home to thousands of earthquake refugees who live with no running water, no electricity, and no school, until now. The first step was a temporary school. It's up and running. 53 students already in uniform. The permanent school for 250 is growing from its foundations.
It makes me want to cry because she just makes me feel so awed, and I'm very proud of her.
All of this because of a handful of students back in Canada. and Mrs. B, the teacher who believed in them.
These are for you.
At another fundraiser, a special tribute to the students, accepted by someone who, without Mrs. B, might not be here.
They believe in me and I believe in them, and together we not only change our lives, but we change the world around us.
For inspiring great things and seeing the potential in everyone, Serena Buffalino is this week's Everyday Hero.
This is the reason why I do what I do, is because of Yolanda and all the...
Good morning. Welcome to June. Bonjour. Ni hao. Hola. Bienvenue. Guanyi. Bienvenidos. And welcome to another exciting episode of Gem Hunter Stories. My name is Barry B. Mixon, and I am a gemological storyteller. And each week, I have the honor and privilege of taking you on a journey to places that you've never been before, to stories that you've never heard before. I get to take you on a spiritual, mental, physical adventure into the art, science, history, and magic of gemstones, precious metals, and fine jewelry. I believe that there is a connection between gemstones and people. And after studying this for so long, I believe that gemstones can be used as a template, as an inception point, as a bridge to help all of us discover the value of our own stories. Last week, we talked about emeralds, and actually for a couple of weeks, we talked about emeralds, and I told you the significance of emeralds. We talked about Cleopatra. We talked about how Cleopatra owned an emerald mine. We talked about how Cleopatra's power came from although we were told something different, Cleopatra's power didn't come from her looks, her physical attributes, her power. The reason why she was able to do the things that she was able to do was because of emeralds. Today, what we're going to talk about, and here's emeralds. I just want to remind you of what emeralds is. And we'll come back to this because emeralds has had a significant part of history, really world history. But today, I get the chance to talk to you about one of my favorite gemstones, pearls. I'm just going to get right to the point. Pearls, I love pearls. Pearls are the quintessential queen of all the gemstones. If you spend any time with women in your life, your mom, your sister, your girlfriend, your wife, and you look at their characteristics, then you will understand the beauty of pearls. I didn't always feel that way about pearls. I grew up in the 60s, and I think my mother had a strand of pearls, but I remember Jacqueline Onassis wearing pearls. I remember Elizabeth Taylor, of course, all her pearls. In fact, remember Elizabeth Taylor received one of the greatest pearls of all time, which was called the La Parisienne, the little pilgrim. And the La Parisienne was a perfect pear-shaped pearl that they got in Panama, and they gave to the King of Spain. And the King of Spain and Elizabeth I literally battled over that pearl. If you've seen the movies Pirates of the Caribbean, the English that was going after the pirates. Well, the pirates, once upon a time, the pirates worked for the British, because what Queen Elizabeth I wanted was another pearl. Pearls are the original gemstone. Emeralds were I like to think of emeralds as the original inorganic, meaning not living mineral gemstone. But pearls is a magnificent gemstone, because a pearl comes from a living organism. For those of you who didn't watch my morning wake-up call, and I'd just like to give a shout out to Lee, Ashley, Mia, who were out there on the beach with me this morning. Thank you so much, guys. Pearls come from, when you understand what pearls come from a living organism, but not just a living organism. Amber, living organism. Ivory, tusk of elephants, rhinos. Coral, which are living organisms that live in the ocean. But pearls come from a living organism. They come from mollusks, oysters, and clams. And what makes pearls so significant to me, in fact, pearls was the thing that got me to start to understand the significance in the relationship between gemstones and people, because when you understand how a pearl begins, what a pearl has to go through in order to become a pearl, you cannot help but see analogies to that of people, but more importantly, to women. Mollusk, and it's really interesting, most people think that pearls are created by a piece of sand. We've always been told that. A piece of sand gets into an oyster, causes an irritation, and then out of that, voila, is a pearl. But that's not what happens. And if it happens extremely rarely. What really usually happens is that, yes, something gets into the mollusk, gets into the oysters, and you'll see me use mollusk and oysters interchangeably. It's just a biological thing. When it gets into the mollusk, what it actually is, it's a parasitic infection. And I remember reading that, thinking, and my wife at the time was going through a UTI, a urinary tract infection, and she was extremely under a lot of pain. So when I realized that a parasitic infection has to get into the oysters, not only does it have to get into the oysters, and it gets into the sex organs, the gonads of the oysters, of the mollusk. And what you have to understand about mollusk is all mollusks start out as male. Mollusks are one of those interesting biological organisms that changes sex. They become a different gender. So male mollusks become, after a period of time, depending on what the population needs, they become female. Think about that. So here you have a parasitic infection getting into the sex organs of that mollusk, causing an irritation. And what the pearl does, what the mollusk does is secrete this thing called nacre. Nacre, N-A-C-R-E, nacre is what coats the pearl to create the pearl that we know and see. This is the Tahitian pearl. And there's a funny story that goes with Tahitian pearls. I didn't really understand pearls. As I said, when I think of pearls, I basically was just like most people. You know, pearls are cool. Pearls are okay. Until I went to Tahiti. I had the opportunity to go to Tahiti. And in Tahiti, that's where French Polynesia, that's where pearls are created. And there's huge pearl farms. You normally have to go way out to find them. I got an opportunity because I was starting my studies in gemology. I got an opportunity to go see some of the pearl farms. Really secret. You have to know somebody who knows somebody, that kind of thing. And when I came back to Tahiti, the mainland, there's pearl shops all over Tahiti. It's like, I don't even know if they sell anything else. All you see is pearl stores. And I walked into this pearl store that was just looked different. It looked magical. And I walked into the store, and when you walked in, the walls that was made out of just beautiful wood. There was fine paintings and tapestries on the wall. And in the cases were all these beautiful Tahitian pearls, black pearls. And when I walked in and I was looking around, I heard the footsteps of a woman, the light steps of a woman, someone wearing heels, walking up behind me. And when I turned around, there was just this spectacularly beautiful woman. Her skin was the color of a copper penny, a brand new copper penny. That was her skin color. Her eyes was a greenish hazel. Her eyes looked just like Tahitian pearls. And she asked me, looked me in my eye and asked me, how can I help you? And I remember thinking to myself, being a man, the first thing I thought was, I'm in heaven. I don't need any help. But once I collected myself, I said, how much is that pearl? How much is that pearl? And she looked at the pearl and she literally said, that pearl is $40,000. And that's when I really woke up. I said, $40,000 for a set, right? And she says, no, for one. And I said, $40,000 for one pearl. I mean, that just blew my mind. And she looked me in my eyes and said, you don't understand, do you? And I said, no, I guess not. So she said, come with me. And we walked into this room. And in this room, there was this table that was covered in this beautiful fabric. She walked over to the table. She unfurled the fabric. And there on the table was this exquisite green material. It wasn't even felt. It was so green and so rich, it looked like it had depth in it, like you could just dive in. And then she stood at the end of the table and held up that single pearl. The one that I was looking at, the one that I don't even remember her getting the pearl. It was like magic. Her hands was perfect, beautiful, tapered, manicured, lacquered nails. She held the pearl in her hand as if she was born to do that. She had me focus on the pearl, and then she put the pearl in the center of the table. She looked me in my eye and said, all I want you to do is concentrate on the light. I said, okay. And then she took her hand and almost with no effort whatsoever, she rolled the pearl down the table. And what was so amazing was that the pearls, symmetry, the symmetrical quality of the pearl was so perfect that the pearl went down the table almost as if it was on a track. And as I was noticing the pearls rotate, all I saw was the light. The light was traveling through the pearl with each and every revolution. You saw the light. Even once the pearl got the shadow underneath the table, was almost as if the pearl was floating on the light. The pearl reached to the end of the table, hit the bumper of the table, and you almost saw a quick explosion of light. And then the pearl started coming back, rotating back. Again, the light was following the pearl with each and every revolution, still on that same track. And then it stopped. And I was almost sure that it stopped exactly where she started the process. And then she picked up the pearl, looked at me and said, voila. In fact, that's when I fell in love with that word voila, because in French, voila means there it is. Because what she was telling me, what she showed me, what she let me experience is the beauty, the unbelievable beauty of a pearl. So when I think of pearls, I think of women. I think pearls are the most extremely feminine of all the gemstones because of where they come from. Again, a parasitic infection gets into the sex organs of that mollusk. That mollusk secretes nacre to protect itself from the bacterial infection, from the parasitic infection. Layer upon layer upon layer upon layer upon layer, thousands of layers, making the pearl larger and larger until one day it's harvested, and out of that comes a pearl, a Tahitian pearl. So this month, what we're going to talk about, pearls are one of the 3 gemstones that are involved with the birthstone, with the birth month of June. So those of you who are born this month, congratulations. You have 3 gemstones to your month. You have alexandrite, which is a beautiful gemstone. Alexandrite is one of those special gemstones that can literally change colors depending on the light that you're looking at. And we'll talk about alexandrite, how it was named, where did alexandrite come from as far as just the name, what part of the world, and what is the significance of alexandrite to world history, especially Russian history. We'll talk about moonstones, and how the light will follow through the moonstone, just like the actual moon. Moonstones have always had a spiritual element. All 3 of them do, but moonstone has a particular spiritual element to them. And we'll talk about that. But today, we'll talk about pearls. I wanted to go back yesterday or a couple of days ago, as I was working out and I walked down the beach. And for those of you who missed my morning wake up, I was on Lake Michigan. I live right on Lake Michigan. And as I told you, that everybody is aware of the gold rush that happened in January 1848. The gold rush. There were several gold rushes, and we'll talk about that. Really separate stories about the gold rushes. Very important. California wouldn't be California without that gold rush. The 49ers, San Francisco 49ers football team is called the 49ers because of the California gold rush. We'll talk about the diamond rush, where diamonds started in South Africa, 1871. We'll talk about the stories of how diamonds came about and how this little boy named Erasmus Erasmus was this 15-year-old boy who found the first diamond, and out of that became the whole diamond industry. We'll talk about Bowie, who found an 83 and a half carat diamond, and literally said to the person that he gave that to, or he was offering that to, "What will you give me for this?" We'll talk about that story of Bowie, who actually comes from the same tribe of people as Nelson Mandela. In fact, when you see Bowie, he looks just like Nelson Mandela. But today, and I think for a couple of weeks, we'll talk about pearls. Pearls is a simple gemstone. It's made up of calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate. And if that sounds familiar to you, this is a box of Arm & Hammer baking soda. Arm & Hammer baking soda is made up of 100% sodium bicarbonate. So it's just that simple change in the element from sodium to calcium. And that calcium, those calcium layers being laid up, millions of at least thousands and thousands of layers to create what we associate when we think about pearls. So a pearl is not actually a mineral in the true definition of what a mineral is, unless you're looking at the calcium carbonate and how all those line up to create the beautiful luster of a pearl. We'll talk about how pearls, unlike diamonds, have 4 factors that allow a diamond to be graded. We talked about the 4 C's that everybody knows. Well, pearls actually have 7 factors. And we'll talk about in the next few weeks, we'll talk about the different factors of a pearl, which help me as a gemologist, as an appraiser, decide to see what is the grade, what is the quality of a gemstone. When I look at different, and the thing about gemstones, or the thing about pearls is, or gemstones in particular, I don't have to make this up. I don't have to think about how the connection is, because it's right there. The connection between pearls and people are right there. When you talk about the different qualities, you'll see those qualities in the people that you talk to, the people that you see each and every day. So pearls in the United States, as I said, I lived on Lake Michigan. In 1857, a man found a pearl in the United States. Guess where? In New Jersey. He found a beautiful pink pearl in New Jersey, fairly large, and we'll talk about different sizes, fairly large, and from that started the pearl rush. Now, what people, well, because of pollution, things like this, people don't know this, but 100 years ago, 128 years ago, pearls were everywhere in the United States. Even today, you can find pearls in, I think, 10 different states. Wisconsin, Iowa, Arkansas, which was exempt. In Arkansas, there was a whole nother story about a pearl that was found in Arkansas, which really continued the pearl rush. Tennessee, Illinois, Indiana, California, Florida, Delaware, and Maryland. These are 10 states in the United States that right now you can find pearls if you look hard enough. So as I was running down the beach the other day, I thought how 100 years ago, there would literally be thousands of people on the lakeshore, on the banks of Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Superior, Lake Ontario, looking for pearl. And in Mississippi, the whole entire Mississippi River is covered in clams. There's actually 63 different varieties of clams that are on the Mississippi River. Now, about 10 of those, or maybe 20 of those, are extinct. But 100 years ago, all you had to do was walk down to the beach, walk down to the lakefront. If you had a flat boat, what they would do is they would collect all the pearls. Like a flat boat could average maybe 1 ton of clams, and people would collect the pan. Now, it started out with them collecting the clams for buttons. 100 years ago, people used clamshells for buttons. And once they invented the automatic new technology, the automatic button making machine, that's when people really saw the entrepreneurial opportunity to make some money selling clams. Pearls kind of came as an offshoot to that, because what would people do is when they collected the clams, they always had to, before they turned it into the button companies, they would oftentimes they would have to cook the meat out. And there are some clams and mussels that actually produce pearls that you can eat the meat. Some you can't, but there's a lot that you can't. So they would cook the meat out of the shell of the oyster, and sometimes they would find a pearl. So in 1857, going all the way from 1857 to 1925, just like the gold rush did in 1849, 1848, the whole towns were emptying out. Literally, you had, excuse me, doctors, lawyers, farmers, homemakers. People would leave their home. Businesses would close down just for the opportunity to find one pearl that would maybe be worth their whole entire salary. Now, I know you want to know more about this, but before we do that, we got to pay some bills and talk to our sponsors. And when we come back, I'll continue the journey of pearls. All right, we're back talking about pearls. So like I said, 1857, they found the pearl, and in New Jersey, believe it or not, they found in New Jersey, this pearl was so beautiful, so luxurious, that Tiffany bought that pearl. And that pearl, which they dubbed the Tiffany Queen. Barbara talks about Queen Diamonds all the time. Well, she's going to have to start talking about Queen Emeralds and Queen Pearls, because the Tiffany Queen, which is the actual piece of jewelry that Tiffany made, and they sold that pearl to Empress Eugenie. Empress Eugenie was the Empress of France, who was the wife of Napoleon III. You have to understand that pearls back in those days were different. The way we conceive pearls, they were different than the way we appreciate and value pearls today. If you had 100 years ago, 200 years ago, if you had one pearl, you were rich. I mean, like seriously rich. If you had a string of pearls, You were Bill Gates type of rich. You had money. Pearls was the symbol of elegance. It was the symbol. If you had a pearl, that meant that you had everything going on. And people use pearls to represent their wealth. Hundreds of years ago, men wore pearls, not just on buttons, but also in their hats, in their clothing. In the next few weeks, I will show you men, Maharajas from India. And there's those of you who are from Indian descent know exactly what I'm talking about, because as much as we may love pearls here in the United States or in Europe, no one loves pearls as much as people from India or people from Japan. In Japan and China, a pearl was a spiritual thing. Pearls didn't come just from the sea. Pearls were the tears of dragons that flew overhead. And when they flew over the head and they cried, their teardrops hit the ocean and they became pearls. Pearls was the symbol of femininity. So when I think about how pearls were created, I think about all the women that I've known in my life, because so many women know exactly what a pearl has gone through. Not just the UTI, but the pain. The pain. I am 60 years old and I do not know a woman who has not been through things in her life just simply because she's a woman. Whether it be the way she looks, whether it be the fact that she's a woman, whether it be childbirth, all these different pains that they have gone through in their lives. And yet, that's not what you see when you look at them. When you look at these pearls, you're not thinking to yourself, oh yeah, that pearl has gone through a lot. These are cultured pearls. These are golden pearls. And the way pearls are created, so we learned about how pearls are created naturally. Parasitic infection, a parasitic infection or parasite going into a parasitic infection gets into the sex organs of a mollusk. That's what happens naturally. Cultured pearls, and we'll do a whole thing of cultured pearls, which started in Japan. Lots of people did it, but a man named Mikimoto literally got it down to a science. In fact, that's what destroyed the pearl market here in the United States. That and the economy and, of course, the Great Depression was what destroyed the pearl market. But cultured pearls have to go through pain the same way, in a different way. What they do is they take, let's say, Tahitian pearls. What they do with Tahitian pearls is they let the mollusk grow to about maybe a teenager in mollusk years. They let the mollusk grow, and then they pull the mollusk out of the water. And I actually got a chance to see this when I was in Tahiti in French Polynesia. They pull the oyster or the mollusk out of the water, and they have people who are experts where they open up the mollusk its shell just enough where you don't kill the mollusk. You run water through so it can still breathe, it can still live. And then what you do is you take a bead. And that's where the Mississippi River comes in, because most of the Tahitian pearls are created from clam shells, beads that are made from the clam shells that were gotten from the Mississippi River. There's whole industries that will collect clams, ship them to French Polynesia, create the beads, and then what you do is you take a bead, you wrap around what's called mantle, the skin of either that oyster or another oyster, and then you implant it. It's a surgical procedure to implant it into the sex organs of the oyster, the mollusk that you've actually grown. And then you put it back in the water again. And depending on the species of pearl, depends on how many pearls you get. Sometimes you get pearls that or species that can handle more than one pearl, and then you have some species that can only handle the one pearl. Like Tahitian pearls are normally just one pearl that's located in it, because of the size of the pearl and because of the size of the pearl itself, and the size of the mollusk. But what I want to talk about today is the romance. The romance of a pearl. When you give a woman a pearl, back in the old days, when you gave a woman a pearl, that was to symbolize her femininity, her beauty. Any woman who owns pearls, I think of my friend Doretta, who is an AK, and I think about the whole AK world, and Vice President Harris. She's known for wearing pearls because that is the symbol of the AKAs. Those who don't know, AK is an African American sorority organization, and they use pearls to symbolize their femininity. I'm looking at my bald head blocking the pearl. I want you to see the pearl. You can see my head anytime. So, because when you give a pearl, the way a pearl feels on your skin, the way the pearl will just, the symmetry of a pearl. In fact, what I wanted to do is show you. This is the GIA Pearl Grading Book. Yeah, fairly thick this. And there are 7 value factors to a pearl: size, shape, color, luster, surface quality, nacre quality, and matching. And I want you to understand, this is not what I talk about on this program. As far as the connection between gemstones and people, I'm not making this up. You're talking about the relationship between pearls and women. Well, shape, there are 3 main categories of shape: spherical, symmetrical, and baroque. Baroque pearls are the pearls that have different kinds of shapes, just like a woman. When you talk about color, there's 3 components here: body color, overtone, and orient. The body color is the overall color of the pearl. The overtone talks about one or more noticeable translucent colors. And then the orient is the form of iridescence. How does the pearl react to the light, as we talked about before? We talked about luster. Luster is the light reflected from the surface of the pearl. That's where a lot of the value comes from. So when you think about a woman that you feel is beautiful, that when you look at her and the way the light hits her, how you can see how I can make that analogy between a pearl and a woman. When you think about how pearls are created, the things that they had to go through. Pearls are delicate. Pearls have a hardness scale of something like 4 or 5 on the hardness scale. That means that pearls have to be cared for. You don't just put a pearl in heat or in intense light, because a pearl, because it comes from an organic organism, can dry up. Pearls can be susceptible to acids. That's why when you wear pearls, you put pearls on last. It's the first thing you take off when you're getting undressed, and it's the last thing you put on when you're getting dressed, because you don't want the perfume to interfere with the luster of the pearl. In fact, we were talking about Cleopatra last week. Cleopatra had a bet. This is how valuable pearls were. Cleopatra, of course, I told you that she had these incredible parties with Mark Antony. And Mark Antony, being a Roman general, and he was an up-and-coming Caesar, he would go into little bets with Cleopatra, and he bet Cleopatra that Cleopatra could not make a party, could not create a party that was worth more than the GNP of some countries in the area. So she said, okay. So she created this spectacular party with everything you can imagine in a party. Imagine J-Lo having a party, her 50th birthday party for the world, that kind of party. And Mark Anthony, at the end of the party, said, yeah, I mean, this is nice. I'm not impressed. So Cleopatra looked at him, and she took off one of her pearl earrings, and she dropped it into a goblet of vinegar. And because the acid quality of the vinegar, the acid content in the vinegar, dissolved the pearl, and then she drank it. People drink apple cider vinegar, so I guess she drank vinegar and with the pearl inside, and she won the bet. I told you how a single black pearl, I want you to understand that pearls are some of the most expensive gemstones ever known. I told you how player Julius Caesar, although he had 500 women as a part of women that he had in his life, plus his wife, but there was one woman in particular, Servilia. Servilia, who, believe it or not, was the mother of Brutus. Remember the old Shakespearean Et tu, Brutus? When they were stabbing him 23 times? Well, before he died, he saw Brutus coming towards him with a knife. That was Servilia's son. And Julius Caesar loved Servilia so much, he wanted to give her something that represented her beauty, that represented just the essence of who she was. So he presented her with a black pearl that he got from Gaul, which is modern day London, or England, I should say, because pearls are everywhere. And that single pearl, and I can't even find a picture of it, but that single pearl, this was a black pearl, was worth 600 million sesterces, which is their type of money. So $600 million. And today, that pearl would be worth $1.5 billion. Now, you got to be a bad sister to receive a $1.5 billion pearl. You got to be a bad man to have that kind of money, but that's what pearls meant in the ancient world. So when we think about the month of June, those of you who are born this month, your essence is coming from that pearl, perhaps. Who you are, if there is some truth to the representation of gemstones and people, then those of you who are born in June have such a beautiful gemstone to have represent you and who you are. Gemstones, most pearls, especially most pearls, natural pearls, do not come in perfectly symmetrical shapes. It does happen. It's very rare. I'm sure the black pearl that Julius Caesar gave Servilia was symmetrical, but that's extremely rare. Most gemstones, in fact, people who are pearl experts can tell a pearl just from the shape. So as I told you, there's 63 different varieties of pearls just on the Mississippi River. And someone who is a pearl expert who works with them all the time can literally tell the shape of the type of clam that it came from by virtue of the shape, by virtue of what it is. In fact, I'm going to do a contest, first contest on the show. I want you, Barbara, go ahead and put my email down there. I want you to send me, those of you who love pearls, those of you who have pearls, I would love to invite you to the show. In fact, I want to pick one person to come with me to the Shed Aquarium in Chicago. I will pay for your admission. Come with me to the Shed Aquarium, and together we will do a show at the Shed Aquarium looking at pearls. And I want you to write in a little essay to me, something that tells me why you love pearls so much. When was the first time someone gave you a pearl? in the stories, because I've been doing appraising for a long time, it's amazing the type of stories you hear from people of what they, with the first time their mother presented them with pearls, or their father, how they felt beautiful because they wore that string of pearls. Vice President Harris, I was told that during the inauguration, she wore a set of pearl that was worn by Shirley Chisholm, one of the first African Americans, the first African American ever ran for president of the United States. That's what Vice President Harris wore at her inauguration. So I would like to invite ladies, really anybody, but I would like to invite you to come join me on an adventure out of my studio into the world, and let's see the way the world sees pearls. I would love for you and the audience to discover the value of pearls. What does it mean? What does pearls represent to you? Which is your favorite pearl? Next week, we'll talk about the different types of pearls: Akoya pearls, Tahitian pearls, golden pearls, South Sea pearls, Sea of Cortez pearls, which I didn't even realize how rare they are. The Sea of Cortez pearls are the only pearls in the world that have a very similar color to that of Tahitian pearls. In fact, they're extremely rare, and I'll be showing those the next time that we come together. So that's your homework assignment. Just sit down, think about what a pearl means to you, tell us a story, and be willing to tell that story on air. And we'll get together, set up a date, and we'll go down to the Shared Aquarium and maybe the Field Museum, and we'll look at the history of pearls. And again, there's 3 gemstones in June. So we will talk about pearls. I'm sorry, pearls is my favorite. I have every certification known to man dealing with pearls. So if I talk about pearls more often, that's the reason why. But I'm going to still give love to alexandrite, talking about why the colors change, and of course, moonstone. Moonstones are extremely intoxicating gemstone, just the way the light hits you. When I think about a moonstone, I think about that time when you see that person, that woman walking across the room, and it seems like all the light is focused on her. That's a moonstone. So again, pearls, alexandrite, moonstone, the birthstones of June, and those are the adventures that we will go on the next Hunter Stories. Au revoir.
OMG. Okay. I don't have that much time, but first of all, I know I'm coming in on the back end because I didn't see you earlier today. You wonderful and awesome Diamond Factors experience supporting listeners. First of all, thank you for coming. Okay, I got to do that first. Always, I want to thank you for coming, tuning in to the Gem Hunter Stories. And what a story. Okay, now that I did that, I'm still trying to get over the fact that this, okay, I'm going to put it out there. You're going to hear me say a word because I usually don't curse too much. But this badass Cleopatra said, you know what? You don't think this party started? Let me drop this pearl into this vinegar. And then after that, I'm going to drink it. I'm like, what? What? Who does that? Who does that? I'm back here like, I'm looking at Barry on the screen. I'm like, really? Oh my God. I was telling myself, I said, shoot, everything, okay, I had to wipe the slate clean. I'm like, you know what? I might have a lot of stories in my life. I might have been through some stuff. But think about this. Okay, you just got to think about this. We got to do a little pause. This was back in what is BC? I mean, we're talking about way back. Like you know how the story, the music say, we're going way back? No, we're going way back before Earth, Wind, and Fire, all them. All they had is people with little flutes. That's what they were playing back then. And little justice like, that's all they was doing back then. And you got this woman, this queen, this lady, Cleopatra. I mean, you talking about equal rights for women, shoot. She was like, screw that. There is equal rights for me. I don't care what anybody say. And we're talking about way back, way back. To sit there and say, I want to prove to you and I'm gonna beat you with this. I don't care what you say. You think that's not it? He talking about She said, okay, you and me. Boom. There you go. I just drunk pearl in the vinegar. Oh my God. Oh my God. I don't even I had a little quote here, but I don't know. I think that just did it. I can end it with that and call it a day and just say, okay, us as women, hello, hello. But Barry, thank you again for bringing it. See, this is why I like that he don't tell me stuff anymore because I'm like, I got it. This is good. This is good. Oh my God. See, now the rest of the day I'm gonna be like, you think you whatever? I'll drink some vinegar on you. But anyway, um, focus, focus. So I'm gonna focus now. So yeah, I do have to leave you with something. But I just, this is again paying attention, listening. I hope you're listening to this. This is some powerful story. I mean, Barry brings it every Wednesday, and I see you coming in. I see you. I see everybody coming. Just keep on coming. Bring your friends. So watch your show on Wednesdays. Okay, I'm going right into some positive. All that was positive, but I do my little positive section here because I didn't get to do it earlier today. So I'm talking about focus and quality. Focus on quality to make all your life's experiences more meaningful. It is not the quality of time that matters. It is the quality of experience during every life moment that matters. One fulfilling experience can eclipse many empty movements. Every minute is an opportunity to love yourself and others. Take quality time to develop self confidence, self respect, and exhibit courage. When you focus on quality, foods a modest portion with nourishment that satisfy you. Also, a few hours of deep sound sleep can leave you sleeping more refreshing than an entire night of interrupted sleep. And that is so true. Please get your rest. Because when you don't get it, you're going to feel it. Today, focus on quality rather than quantity to make all your life experiences meaningful. And I love how this says, because it's saying focus on the quality. That's why I said take every second, every minute of the day just to focus on things and take it in. Because time is of the essence. Time is going to keep passing. You can't get back time. So we want to treasure, we want to focus on things in our lives and then people that we're helping in our lives and focus in on that and so getting so interrupted by things that really you might not even have no control over. I always tell people maybe 80% of the time when things are going crazy and you're like, what I supposed to do? I'm getting all it's mostly because it's something that you really probably don't have that much control over. And if you do have some control over it, then that's when you got to ask yourself, do I need to create some boundaries while I'm focusing on my quality? Where are my boundaries? Why am I going? Why am I letting certain things get to me? I always tell people that when you get upset, and I know you're going to be like, nah, I don't know about that, Barbara, but I want to tell you, when you get upset at something, even yourself, but let's just say another person made you upset. I always tell people that person didn't make you upset. And they always tell me, well, what do you mean that? I said, because you have, so you're telling me you have no control over your feelings and emotions. You're telling me that you're going to let everybody, when they want to piss you off, they can just pull that trigger and then they can just make you just go woof. See, that's a baby step motive right there. That's a baby step lesson practice. We can't let people control how we feel and think like that, especially when it comes to negative surroundings. Now, it's okay to give the love. Hey, if that spreads on, yeah, let's spread the love. I'll take that any day. But you got to be careful with that too, because that could be another manipulation thing. So anything can go way over to on the other side, way on the side. But overall, you can't really. I mean, going back to people controlling you and how you feel, you have control. You can make the decision in your mind and in your heart to say, you know what? Why am I getting upset? Why they sitting there making me upset? And they moving on their little merry way. I'm sitting there still upset at them. Why am I still having these feelings? Why am I still pissed off at this? So they're gonna leave you. They're gonna drop their garbage, as I say, in your backyard, and they're gonna leave, and they're gonna be fine with that because they got rid of their garbage. Now it's on you. So life is too short. Time is of the essence. Make sure you focus on the experiences that you go through, on the different things that you learn. Barry is giving us treasures every Wednesday. Take that in, use that experience, and see how it resonates in your life. And I want to bring it back. I always bring it back to the PPD: your purpose, your passion, your drive. This is what I'm talking about when you have to focus on that. People will try to knock you off your block, as they said in the old days. Don't let them. That's why I always say your foundation, in my mind, is your PPD, your purpose, passion, drive. Because when you really understand that, see, Cleopatra understood her purpose. I mean, I'm just gonna go back to that. She understood her purpose. She had the passion, and she had the drive. Because if somebody's gonna drink some vinegar after Pearl is in there, she had all PPD. So thank you, Barry, for bringing that so I can bring back around that PPD, because it always comes back to that. I'm going to keep telling people. I always put it out there. You be like, Bar, you always talk about PPD, because it's everywhere when you think about it, because it's you. It's something that's instilled in you that you have to understand who you are. If Cleopatra didn't understand who she was, she would never did what she did. She wouldn't have, had, people following her, men and women. Come on now. She was over armies. Come on. Don't tell me she didn't know her purpose. And she didn't know her purpose. She was really hiding it. She hid it well. So I'm just letting you know that. Thank you for coming on the show again. Thank you, Barry, for giving me another thing to think about all day, because this is like, yeah, okay. There you go. There you go. So with that said, tomorrow we will be back. And I'm just looking at my little roster right here. Yep. So we have Miss Laura Armstrong. She'll be coming in around 9:30ish. Because the show, if it's not an hour show with Barry or Amiri, because she was on yesterday, we have our shows where we interview people, and we have our other experts. So tomorrow, our wonderful expert, Laura, our Queen Diamond, Laura Armstrong, will come on and talk about leadership and understand the characteristics of it. She's going to go all into that. And then I have a precious lady that's coming on before Laura, that I do another show with her called Time to Shine Happiness Show with Barbara Beckley and Barbara Ellis. So Barbara Ellis will be coming on my platform tomorrow, and we're going to discuss what she does, who she is, and just how awesome and amazing we are together as business partners. I love the other show that we're on together, and I told her, I've been asking her, I was like, Barbara, come on, you got to come on to the Diamond Factor Spirit Show. And she's like, okay, when? I said, this Thursday. She's like, what? That's kind of last minute. And you know what? She didn't even look the other way. She said, I'll be there. I'll come. I can come. I can make it. So you'll see her tomorrow. So again, as I tell everybody, what do you do within you? Understand who you are. Know that your gifts and your talents are so important. So important. Each and every one of us is so important. And remember that. I call that your PPD. And then I wrap it up in a little bowl, just a little bitty bowl, and call the Diamond Factor in your life. So with that said, see you tomorrow. And remember, we're here, YouTube channel Diamond Factor Experience. You can go to E360 TV. I always tell people, let you go the easy route and say go to the YouTube channel and you will see our shining faces on the show. You take care and see you on Thursday.